Thunder rumbled through the sky, its deep growl shaking the earth beneath. The winds howled, twisting the trees into unnatural shapes, as if they too feared the storm's fury. Mbozi was a village used to storms, but this one felt different. It wasn't just the wind or the rain. It was the heavy weight of something unseen, something ancient. Nia stood at the edge of the village, her heart racing as the storm's fury churned in the distance. The people of Mbozi had learned to live in fear of the whispering stream, a waterway that wound its way through the heart of the village. They spoke of it in hushed tones, for it was said to carry a curse that took the souls of the girls who drank from it. Yet Nia, determined and fearless, could not be swayed by such stories. She would face the truth herself. The night had drawn her here. She was drawn to the stream as if the wind itself had pushed her feet toward it. Her sister had been the last to vanish, and Nia had vowed to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. The water swirled in the stream, its murmur barely heard above the roar of the storm. It seemed to call her, beckoning with promises of secrets long hidden. Nia stepped forward, her feet sinking into the mud, her breath steady. This was it. She was going to find the truth. Suddenly the storm seemed to quiet, the winds stilling as if nature itself held its breath. And then she saw her, Kazi, the girl who had been missing for weeks, her body frail, her eyes wide with terror. She was sitting by the water's edge, shaking. When she saw Nia, her lips parted, but no sound came. Kazi had returned, but there was nothing in her eyes that resembled the girl who had once played and laughed with the others. Nia moved toward her, her heart pounding with a mix of relief and dread. Kazi's hands trembled as she reached out. It's the stream. She gasped, her words a jumbled mess. Nia knelt beside her, forcing Kazi to look at her, to speak the truth. The stream, Kazi whispered. It holds you, Nia. Once you drink, it takes you into its world, and you never return. Her voice broke and tears flooded her eyes. The curse. It never lets go. Nia's eyes narrowed. Fear did not own her. She had to know. I don't believe in curses. I'm not afraid. Kazi's body trembled harder, as though the words themselves were ripping her apart. Nia stood, her resolve firm. She had heard the warnings, but the time for fear was over. She would drink from the stream and find out for herself. Kazi's frightened pleas were nothing compared to her need for answers. Nia leaned forward, bringing the cool, shimmering water to her lips. The first drop felt like a spark on her tongue. And then, everything shifted. The world around her warped, the stream's clear waters glowing with a strange, otherworldly light. Her vision blurred. The sounds of the storm faded into silence. She could feel her body trembling, but her mind raced. What was happening? Was it the curse or something? Darker at play? For a moment she thought she might lose herself entirely. The earth seemed to turn beneath her feet, and a cold, sharp dread filled her chest. What had she just done? What price would she pay for uncovering the truth? The world tilted again, and for a second, Nia thought she saw Zara's face, her sister's, eyes filled with sorrow. But before she could reach out, the image vanished. Nia staggered back, her body gripped by confusion and fear. The curse. It was real. The stream had claimed her now, just like it had claimed the others. She had sought answers, but the truth felt more dangerous than she ever imagined. What had she just unleashed? The storm raged once more, a final roar of fury as Nia fought to stay grounded. She had made a choice, but was it the right one? Nia's feet pushed through the thick mud, each step determined. The village had spoken of the stream's curse in hushed whispers, but she would not be swayed by superstition. Her sister had vanished into that very water, and Nia had vowed to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. The elders told tales of girls who disappeared after drinking from the stream, but Nia had heard enough. She would face the source of those stories herself. The air smelled of damp earth, and the sky hung heavy as a storm threatened in the distance. Still, Nia pressed forward. She walked swiftly past the mud huts of Mbozi, the people watching her, with worried eyes, their voices silent. The fear of the stream had settled into their bones, a cold reminder of what had been lost. But Nia was not like them. The village's hesitation did not belong to her. The memory of Zara's smiling face, now gone, urged her to press on. Nia stopped when she reached the edge of the stream. Its waters, clear but unnaturally still, stretched out in front of her, a dark mirror beneath the moonlight. As she gazed into its depths, she could almost hear the whispers of the water calling her, promising answers. The stories told of the water's power, and it was here that her sister had last been seen. Drinking from its cursed waters, Nia set her jaw, determined to know what truly lay beneath the surface. From the shadows, a figure emerged. Kazi, the girl who had gone missing weeks ago, was stumbling toward her, her eyes wide with terror. Her skin was pale, her body thin, as though the stream had drained the life from her. She collapsed at Nia's feet, hands trembling as she reached out. "The stream, it takes everything," Kazi gasped. I didn't listen. It called me, and I drank." She broke into uncontrollable sobs, her words tangled with fear. "It makes promises, but it steals what you hold most dear." Nia knelt beside Kazi, her heart aching. Kazi's haunted eyes locked onto hers. It's too late for me. Don't let it take you too." The words chilled Nia, but she did not move. She could not. Her sister's fate had been sealed by the same water. She needed answers, and no cryptic warning would stop her now. Ignoring the fear that clawed at her gut, Nia stood and approached the water's edge. Kazi's cries grew louder, but Nia refused to turn back. Her fingers hovered over the water, the soft, rippling current seeming to beckon her closer. The moonlight danced upon the stream's surface, and for a fleeting moment, the water shimmered like an inviting promise. Then, without a second thought, Nia lowered her hand into the water. It was cold, sharp, and alive with a strange energy. The instant her fingers touched the water, a jolt ran through her body, sending a shiver down her spine. A deep, ancient hum seemed to rise from the stream's depths. Nia gasped but held her. Ground. She had come for the truth, and now it would be hers. Suddenly, a figure appeared before her. Mbozi Kato, the village elder, stepped from the shadows. His weathered face was grim, his eyes filled with caution. "What do you seek, child?" he asked, his voice heavy with age-old wisdom. "I seek to know the truth," Nia said, her voice unwavering. "What really lies beneath the surface?" Mbozi Kato's gaze softened. "You are brave, but bravery alone will not save you from the stream's grasp. It has been here long before us, an ancient force. Those who defy its will pay a price." He paused, his words echoing in the silence. "The stream is not merely water. It is home to an ancient spirit, and its gifts come at a deadly cost. The pact made long ago, it demands a life for every blessing it bestows." Nia's heart pounded. The stories she had heard were true. This was no ordinary water. "And what price will I pay?" she asked, her voice steady despite the tremble of fear within her. Mbozi Kato looked at the stream, his eyes distant. "You must ask yourself if the truth is worth the sacrifice. The water cannot be trusted. Some mysteries are better left unsolved, child. Some forces are not meant to be challenged." But Nia refused to listen. She had to know, had to uncover the truth. Behind the disappearance of her sister, the villagers' fear had kept them from questioning, but not her. "I must know," she said, her voice firm. "I will not be stopped," the elder sighed, his face heavy with regret. "Then you walk the path of those who have come before. You will face the consequences just as they did." Nia turned back to the water. Its surface rippled, as if it had been waiting for her to make her choice. The wind howled louder now, the storm closing in as the stream pulsed with a power all its own. The village's ancient beliefs, the warnings of the elder, and the cursed water all seemed to call to her, pulling her into the darkness of its mystery. And then, as Nia stood there, a whisper slid through the air, carried on the wind. It was faint, but clear. "The gift is not without its price," it seemed to say. The tension between Nia and the stream grew palpable, as if the very land around her waited for her decision. She stared into the water, wondering what the ancient forces might have in store for her next. Mbozi Kato's words echoed in her mind. Some mysteries are better left unsolved. But Nia was not one to back away. She had already made her choice. The search for truth had led her here, and there was no turning back. Nia's search led her deeper into the village's whispered secrets. She sat by the fire, listening to the elders' stories, piecing together what others had dismissed as folklore. The stream had been here long before her, its dark past woven into the fabric of Mbozi itself. Each girl who drank from the stream, the elders claimed, was given a vision, a glimpse into their future. But there was always a price. Those who drank its waters were cursed, their fates sealed. Some returned broken, like Kazi, while others never returned at all. The deeper Nia dug, the more the pieces came together. Zara, her sister, had disappeared after drinking from the stream. But what exactly had happened? Was it the curse? Had Zara seen something she shouldn't have? These questions gnawed at Nia, urging her forward. She couldn't stop now. She needed to uncover the truth, no matter how dark it might be. The more she uncovered, the more the village seemed to split. One evening, as Nia walked along the worn path toward the stream, Tatu found her. His eyes were filled with the grief of a man who had lost too much. He had seen the stream claim his wife years ago, and now he was consumed with rage. "The stream is no blessing," Tatu spat, his voice heavy with bitterness. "It takes without giving. It has stolen too much from this village. You don't understand, girl. The curse. It feeds on what we love most." He clenched his fists, his anger bubbling to the surface. "I'm going to destroy it. I'll burn it to the ground if I must." Nia's heart pounded in her chest. She understood his pain but couldn't back away. "I need to understand it, Tatu," she replied firmly. "This curse, it holds the answers to what happened to Zara. If I can break it, I can save her." Tatu's eyes darkened, the weight of his years of loss settling heavily between them. "No, Nia," he said quietly, his voice almost a whisper. "There's nothing you can do. The stream has already claimed what it wanted." As Nia's investigation grew, so did the tension within the village. Some, like Mbozi Kato, the elder, insisted that the curse should not be disturbed. "What is old must remain as it is," Mbozi Kato advised, his voice calm, though his eyes betrayed his deep concern. "The stream has its place. We must not challenge the spirits. They are not to be trifled with." But others like Tatu were ready to fight. They believed the only way forward was to destroy the stream, to rid Mbozi of the ancient curse that had taken too many lives. The village was split. Some spoke in whispers of rituals and appeasing spirits, while others, like Tatu, spoke of rebellion and destruction. One night, as Nia lay awake in her small hut, the whispers began. First it was a faint rustling of the wind, then a voice. It was soft at first, then grew louder, echoing in her mind. "Help me, Nia. Please." The voice was unmistakable. It was Zara's. Nia bolted upright, her heart pounding. She could hear the rustle of footsteps, but no one was there. Shadows danced across the walls, flickering in the moonlight. The next day, Nia went to Kazi. She had to know what had happened. Kazi's eyes were still haunted, her movements jerky and disjointed, as if she were caught between two worlds. Nia grabbed her arm, forcing her to face her. "Tell me, Kazi," Nia demanded. "What is it? What happens when you drink from the stream? What did you see?" Kazi hesitated, her body trembling as if the memories burned too much to relive. "The stream. It offers power, Nia. But at a cost. It takes your soul. You see your future, but you're not meant to. The spirit feeds on the part of you that's left behind, the part that desires more. And once it takes that, you're nothing." Her voice cracked, her eyes hollow with the weight of truth. Nia's world shifted. She had heard the warnings, but now she understood. This wasn't just a curse. It was a bargain with something far more dangerous. The stream wasn't just taking lives. It was stealing souls. As Nia tried to process Kazi's words, a storm erupted over the village. Dark clouds swallowed the sky, and the wind howled through the trees. The villagers huddled together, fearful. They whispered that the storm was the stream's wrath, its spirit angry at those who dared challenge it. Nia stood alone, watching the storm lash at the earth. The wind carried an eerie cry, like the spirit itself calling for retribution. The ground beneath her feet seemed to tremble. Her body shook, but her resolve was unshaken. She had uncovered the truth, but it wasn't enough. She needed to destroy it, to free the village from the spirit's grasp. As the storm raged on, the village elders began speaking of an ancient ritual, one that had once been used to appease the spirit of the stream. But that ritual had been forgotten, lost to time. As the wind howled louder, Nia realized that the village's survival hinged on rediscovering that ritual. But would they be able to remember it in time to stop the storm, to stop the spirit? The villagers gathered, the sound of the storm now muffled by the weight of their decisions. It was a time for action. The old ways had returned, but would they be enough to save Mbozi from the curse of the stream? Nia stood at the edge of the stream once more, her heart pounding in her chest. The night air felt thick with tension, as if the very earth were holding its breath. Her hands trembled, but her feet were firm. This was the moment to face the spirit that had haunted her village for generations, the curse that had taken her sister. Zara's ghostly presence seemed to guide her, her image flickering like a shadow in Nia's mind. She could almost hear her sister's soft voice whispering, urging her forward. Nia felt the pull of the stream, its dark, unyielding force drawing her in. The water shimmered under the moonlight, almost inviting her to step closer. But she didn't move. Not yet. Then from the depths of the stream, the spirit rose, a dark, towering figure, its eyes glowing with an unnatural fire. It gazed at Nia, its voice echoing in her mind. "You have come, child. You seek the truth. But at what cost?" The air crackled with energy, and Nia's heart raced. She could feel the spirit's power, a cold, suffocating force, pressing down on her chest. But she stood tall, her gaze unwavering. "I've come to stop this," she declared. "I will end the curse. I will free my village." The spirit's laugh was low and rumbling, sending chills through her body. "You believe you can stop what is ancient, what is destined," it taunted. "I offer you a choice, Power beyond your understanding in exchange for your soul. Or freedom for all, but at the cost of your very being. Nia's breath hitched. Power. The chance to undo everything. The chance to save her sister. But at what cost? Just as she stood at the crossroads, ready to make her decision, another voice broke through the silence. Tatu stepped from the shadows, his eyes burning with a desperate fury. "You should have never come here, Nia," he said, his voice cold. "This stream is not for you to control. I have spent years trying to harness its power, and now you are the key. With you, I can take what is rightfully mine." Nia's eyes widened as she looked at him. His face was twisted, the pain of his loss replaced with a dangerous greed. "You," Nia whispered. "You've been trying to control it all along?" Tatu smirked, his anger bubbling to the surface. "You are nothing more than a pawn. The spirit will take you, just as it has taken others. But He stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. "I will be the one to rule." Nia shook her head, her hands clenched into fists. "You're wrong. The stream's power is not something to control. It's a curse. And you'll never have the strength to handle it." The air grew thick with tension as the spirit's power surged, its dark energy crackling like lightning. Tatu moved toward the water, his hands reaching for the power he so desperately craved. But Nia stood in his way. "What are you going to do?" Tatu sneered. "You can't fight me, not now. You're weak, just like the others." But Nia's resolve had never been stronger. "No, Tatu. It's you who doesn't understand. The stream doesn't give power. It takes, and the cost is far greater than you ever realized." She turned back to the spirit. "I won't give in. I won't become like the others. I will destroy this curse once and for all." The spirit's voice echoed, its fury rising with every word. "Foolish girl. You cannot stop me. You will pay the price for your defiance." The water churned violently, as if ready to swallow them all whole. In that moment, the truth became clear. The power of the stream was not a gift. It was a theft. Each girl who drank from it lost a part of herself. A piece of her soul was taken to feed the spirit's hunger. And now, it was Nia's turn. Nia looked at Tatu, who stood frozen, his eyes wild with greed. But she saw beyond him. She saw the dark, twisted path that awaited him if he succeeded. And she saw the village, her people, caught in the same cycle of suffering. "No more," Nia said, her voice fierce. "I choose freedom. For everyone." With a roar, the stream's power surged, the water rising like a monstrous wave. But Nia was ready. She stepped forward, her hands raised, and with a single motion, she cast her will upon the water. "The stream is broken," she thought, as her hands glowed with a bright, piercing light. The air crackled, and the spirit howled in fury, its power slipping away. Tatu screamed, his body writhing in the spirit's grasp. But it was too late. The curse was undone. The water fell back to its normal flow, its energy now gone, leaving nothing but the faint ripples of what once was. Nia stood still, her breath ragged, her body trembling. She had made her choice, and the cost had been high. The spirit was gone, but so was a part of her. She had sacrificed a piece of herself to save them all, but she did not regret it. The village was free, and so was she. Nia turned to the village. She had broken the curse, but the journey had only just begun. It was time to rebuild, to heal, and to honor those who had been lost. And as the dawn broke, Nia knew one thing. Some things were worth sacrificing everything for. The village felt the weight of silence after the storm. The air was still, but the earth beneath their feet seemed to tremble, as though it too mourned the loss of what had been. The battle for the stream had been fierce, but the curse had been broken. The power that once pulsed through the water had vanished, leaving only the remnants of a dark history. Yet, the villagers couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Something taken with the stream's demise. The legacy of the curse, though lifted, still haunted them. They couldn't escape the shadows of those who had been lost. Nia stood in the center of the village, her chest tight with the weight of her victory. She had done it. She had broken the curse, freed the village from the spirit's grasp. But the cost was heavy. A part of her had been lost in the process. It wasn't just the spirit's power that had drained her. It was the sacrifice. She had given up something of herself, something she would never regain. As she looked out at the villagers, her eyes met those of the elders, who watched her with a mix of awe and sorrow. The villagers began to gather, some whispering, others silent. The spirits of the girls who had once been claimed by the stream now roamed free, but their presence lingered, like shadows that could not quite leave. Their eyes, vacant but knowing, watched from the corners of Nia's mind, as though reminding her of what had been. The village, now free, felt the weight of its past. The spirits could not be fully laid to rest. Not yet. But they were no longer bound to the stream. They had been freed. Their suffering ended. And yet, the sorrow of their loss hung in the air like a thick fog. But not all were free. Tatu, the man who had tried to control the power of the stream, was gone. Driven by greed, he had made one final, desperate attempt to claim the spirit for himself. He had believed the power could be his, that he could bend it to his will. But the spirit was not meant to be controlled. Tatu's body was found at the edge of the water, his eyes wide with terror, his soul claimed by the very thing he sought to conquer. His tragic fate served as a reminder of the danger of trying to control forces beyond understanding. Nia stood, above the village, her heart heavy, as the weight of the loss settled within her. She had broken the curse, but the journey had forever changed her. She had seen things, felt things, that no one else in Mbozi could understand. The power of the stream had taken something from her, something deep and unspoken. But in return, it had given her something else: wisdom, strength, a new role to play. Nia walked forward, stepping into the circle of elders. She had earned her place among them, though it was not the path she had expected. The village needed someone to guide them, someone to ensure the stream's dark power would never be awakened again. She was that person now. With a steady hand, she took up the mantle of guardian. She would protect the village's traditions, but she would also ensure that the stream's dark force was never again disturbed. It was not just her responsibility. It was her legacy. She could no longer live in the shadow of what had been, but she could shape the future, and the village would rebuild. The stream, once a glowing force of destruction, was now still. Its mystical power had been broken, leaving it a simple waterway. But the village's respect for it had changed. The curse was gone, but the knowledge of what had been would never fade. The villagers would rebuild, but they would never forget the lessons of the past. Some things, Nia realized, were meant to be left undisturbed. The stream had taught them that. The dangers of seeking power beyond what was needed. The importance of respect for the forces that shaped their world, and the cost of defying what was ancient. As the village gathered around the fire, Nia stood among them, a silent witness to the change that had taken place. Mbozi was no longer the same village it had been before the curse, but perhaps, just perhaps, it was stronger for it. And as the moon rose over the village, Nia knew the truth. Some mysteries were not meant to be solved. Some forces should be left to rest, And sometimes the greatest lesson was learning when to walk away. The moon hung heavy over the village, casting a cold light on Nia's weary face. She stood at the edge of the stream, the water now calm, its once violent power subdued. The spirit was gone, the curse broken. But Nia knew the cost of the battle. The price had been steep, too steep for anyone to bear lightly. Nia thought of the power she had sought, the power that had driven her to risk everything. In the beginning it had seemed so clear. She had believed that by confronting the spirit, by defying the stream, she could uncover the truth and save her sister. But now, standing here in the aftermath, the truth felt different. It felt heavy, like a weight that would never truly lift. She had been given power, yes, but it had come with a price, one she would carry for the rest of her days. The stream had shown her the dangers of trying to control forces beyond understanding. She had wanted to bend the power to her will, to rewrite her sister's fate. But the stream had taught her that such forces could not be manipulated. There were some things that no amount of willpower could change. The danger of challenging fate was clear now. She had learned that no matter how strong the desire, there were things that must be accepted as they were. Some forces were too old, too powerful to be understood or controlled by mere mortals. Nia had learned that the hard way. She had defied the ancient spirit, and though she had emerged victorious, she could feel the weight of the battle in her bones. Her journey had shown her the true nature of power. It was not about control or domination. True power lay in the responsibility that came with it. She had been reckless, driven by her grief and desire for justice. But now she understood. With power came responsibility, not just for herself, but for the village, for the balance that had been disrupted. The lesson was harsh but clear. No one could hold power without bearing its burden. The spirit of the stream, though gone, still lingered in her thoughts. It had been a force beyond comprehension, a force that could not be tamed or defeated. Some things, Nia now realized, were meant to be respected, not challenged. The ancient forces had their place, their purpose, and it was not for her to decide their fate. The stream was a reminder of that, a reminder that the world was not always meant to be understood, that some mysteries were better left untouched. She closed her eyes, the weight of the lesson sinking deep into her heart. In the end, the stream had shown her the final truth. Some stories are told to warn us, not to invite us to change them. The stream's curse was not something to conquer. It was a lesson in itself, a warning to those who came after. Nia had defied it, and in doing so, had paid the price. But now she knew. The warnings were there to protect, not to provoke. She had seen the cost of disregarding them, and she would carry that truth with her, always. Nia opened her eyes, the village stretching before her, its people now free from the curse. She had done what needed to be done, but she had learned that not all battles were worth fighting, and not all truths were meant to be uncovered. Some things, like the stream, were better left as they were, mysterious, powerful, and untouchable. The storm had passed, and now the village would rebuild. But for Nia, the journey had come to an end. She had learned the greatest lesson of all, that power, when unchecked, could destroy just as easily as it could save. And sometimes, the best way to protect the future was to let the past remain undisturbed.